All right, so thank you for tuning in to the bit. I'm Kyle Rivers, of course. I know it's been some time since I, have given you a new episode, but I want to talk about the NBA offseason. I believe it officially starts Thursday, but we're starting to see some teams make some moves now, as well as rumors of some moves, and a couple of moves I want to talk about that are interesting to me, both good and bad, plus a couple of decisions on a couple of players that I know some people were looking at as possible big stories, but they've kind of been decided pretty early on in the process. So talk about those. Before I get into that, I want to talk about some narratives and talking points that have been coming out from certain people on TV, coming out of the NBA Finals, which the Warriors won. I mean, the last episode I gave you was, I think, before Game 6, so kind of want to talk about my thoughts on the finals as well. Being a Celtics fan, as you may know, if you don't, and it's your first time checking it out, well, there you go, I'm a Celtics fan. So kind of talk about things that I saw and my overall thoughts on the team after a up and down, wacky year from the team. So I think with that, we can kind of, tie a little bit of a bow on the 2021-2022 season. And like I said, talking about the offseason with moves that are possibly being made, start to look ahead to 2022-2023. But with that, I think we should just go ahead and get into this real quick. And like I said, we'll start with the finals because we'll start back and work our way up. So the finals, we know, ended in 6 games. As I said before, I found the finals to be wildly entertaining because both teams, certain points, played outstanding basketball, and then other points played some not so outstanding basketball because both teams had their moments where they were dominant defensively, then they had moments where they were, dominant offensively. So all in all, in the end, the Warriors winning in 6. Take my hats out to them. As I've said on here before, Western Conference teams that I do like to watch, the Warriors are probably right up there. Probably number 1 for me because I like the ball movement. I'm a big Steph Curry fan. I know he has haters out there, but I'm not one of them. And Klay Thompson, people were rooting for him because of the past couple of off seasons that he went through with knee injuries and all that kind of stuff. And then I think he had the Achilles injury, rehabbing, coming back from the knee injury, which was a big setback for him. Although to me, the whole storyline with him talking about the Celtics fans and them being, not being classy for swearing and all that kind of stuff did make him look a little bit weak to me. But on the court, I have no problem with him. So, Steph Curry finally got his NBA Finals MVP. Well deserved. I know Andrew Wiggins had a great series. He's another guy that you can root for because getting drafted, when he get drafted to Cleveland, then they got dealt right away and didn't work out as much as people wanted it to in Minnesota. So he was a guy who was kind of being labeled as a bust. But since he's been in Golden State, it has, revitalized his career because there he doesn't have to be the number 1 guy, and that fits him perfectly. He can go out there, be athletic, give them, 18, 20, 22 points, play wing defense, and perfect for him. And that's what we saw in the finals. So, good for him. And, Steve Kerr and all that, great. Now, what gets me is after this series, where we had a lot of these talking heads flip-flopping back and forth between, them picking the Celtics to win it, then Golden State to win it, and all that. And then once Golden State ultimately won it, it turned into this Jason Tatum bash fest, which I have no idea why that is. I mean, I'm seeing people talking about his, lack in will to win. People questioning his heart and all this kind of stuff, which makes zero sense to me because if you look at the stats, Jason Tatum, I believe, played the most minutes in the playoffs. And for me to question a guy's heart and all that, that would mean that they did not show up at all during the postseason. And there were several times in the postseason where Jason Tatum had memorable performances. If he didn't want to win, why would he have done that? Questioning his heart and all this stuff. He's gotten better each year he's been in the league. This past year, we saw more of his playmaking ability. And yes, did he have the greatest finals? No. But he still averaged I think he averaged 25 a game. And he shot, 40% from three. His field goal percentage was a little low, yes, but that could be easily attributed to all the minutes he played. And I think Brad Stevens realized that because his exit interview, main things he talked about was bringing in a playmaker, deepening the bench. Why would he think that you have to deepen the bench? Obviously, it's to lessen the minutes for Tatum, Brown, and those guys. So I don't get where it's coming from. I don't understand the narrative. There's plenty of guys out there that you can question their willingness and all that. Jason Tatum's not one of those guys. Because to me, a player you could question, like Carmelo Anthony, a guy who, for the most part in his career, has chosen money over winning. Those are guys you can question. But a guy, Jason Tatum, who's only 24, that seems asinine to me. So I think it's stupid. Luckily, a lot of these shows have kind of moved on to other subjects by now, so don't have to hear it anymore. And out of all of them, the only one who really made sense to me was Rich Eisen, who is one of those guys I do listen to because to me, it seems like he's not really one of those that's in the business of being wildly extreme to get attention. He kind of just calls it as it is, for the most part, pretty logically. And his biggest thing was Tatum's a young player. The talent's there. It's obvious. Every other team in the league would love to have a guy that young, that talented. So okay, he didn't perform the best in his first finals. There's been plenty of guys down the line in NBA history that did not play well in their first NBA finals. It's seen as a teaching tool for them. Now the Celtics understand what it takes to get to that point and what it takes to win the title. Because one thing to get to the finals, you need another gear to actually win it all. So yes, there's no guarantee that the Celtics make it back there, but I'm not going to sit here and try to start narratives against guys off of one final series where, not like they got, exposed and swept. They lost in 6 games. So that's kind of all I want to say about that, but I just had to, get that off my chest real quick. So with that, once the finals ended, we saw the draft, which basically is your start to the offseason. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that every guy who got drafted I know everything about, because there's a lot of college basketball out there. I mean, there's me being in the Atlanta area. Yes, I see SEC, ACC. I actually watch a lot of Big Ten down here. So some of those guys I know them. But I think Banchero, the guy that Orlando took number 1, love his talent. He's one of those Duke guys that I think can make an impact in the NBA. Some teams love dipping into that Duke well, but not all Duke players are the same. Yeah, you can draft a Jason Tatum, Paolo Banchero high, but I wouldn't draft Sheldon Williams or whoever, or Marvin Williams went to North Carolina, but Sheldon Williams high. So Banchero seems like the real deal to me. One guy at the top who I'm interested to see how their pro career goes is Jaden Ivey. He was the real hot name coming into the draft process. He went to Detroit, which I think could be a good place for him. Playing alongside Cade Cunningham, that dynamic, we'll have to see what that looks like. But he's an interesting character to me because I felt during the NCAA tournament he didn't have the best tournament, and not saying that that's going to totally define the player that he is, but I'm, like I said, keeping an eye on him. Real quick, if you watched, I guess, the NBA on ESPN, their broadcast, they had Jay Billis, Kendrick Perkins, and Malika Andrews. 3 people I like. I didn't understand why they had Kendrick Perkins doing the, I guess, NBA equivalent for these guys when Jay Billis is the actual college guy on set. I'd have more faith in Billis coming up with a comparison than Perkins. I would go to Perkins if these guys played a little bit in the NBA. Then he could say who their game reminds them of. Some of the comparisons came up with were kind of lofty. Chet Holmgren, who's another guy who I wonder about him. Back in my mind, for some reason, I feel like Holmgren has bust potential, but because of his measurables, he could also be the next big thing. But if you listen to Perk said he was a mix between Porzingis and Giannis. If that's true, then Holmgren is going to be like the Porzingis part. Even though Porzingis is a talented player, he just can't stay healthy. But that means you're getting Porzingis' perimeter game with Giannis' ability to get to the rim. So if that's the case, Holmgren's going to be unguardable, and I don't see that. So stuff like that I found funny, but all in all, I feel like this draft was actually a pretty good one. Of course, we'll never know until 3 or 4 years down the line. But of course, I was watching to see what the Celtics were going to do. They took J.D. Davison, the point guard out of Alabama. Saw him play a little bit. I mean, he's 6'3", so that's decent size for a point guard. Not the best shooter, but athleticism for days. And I feel like Brad Stevens has kind of targeted guys like that because athleticism is something you can't teach, and smoothing out the edges of young players' games falls on the coaching staff. And we've seen Udoka help some of the guys on the roster now. I mean, you can't just say Udoka because he has a full coaching staff that helps as well, but I'm just saying Udoka-led staff. You saw development in guys like a Robert Williams. Tatum developed. Brown has developed a little bit as well. So bringing Davison in, They say he has turnover issues. Maybe they can fix that. Then again, he's only 19 years old, so that could be something that he fixes himself with a little bit of age, maturity, all that. So I like the pick. Makes sense to me. Of course, it's going to make people start bringing up those Marcus Smart trade rumors and all that. I don't think that's necessary because your point guard rotation was Smart, Pritchard, and then Derek White was kind of thrown into that role. So maybe now Derek White pushes more to 2, 3, and now you have a 3 point guard rotation. Or maybe Brad Stevens does trade Marcus Smart. You never know. It's the NBA. But and I'm also intrigued by their undrafted signing, Travion Williams, guy out of, well, he played with Jaden Ivey at Purdue. For some reason I want to say Iowa, but at Purdue. And, you know, he was a guy who went into college like 325. I think he lost like 50 or so pounds. And, you know, that really helped him because he's a skilled big man, at least offensively. He can, he's a great passer. He's got a little bit of a jump shot. So I'm interested to see those two guys in the summer league, how they're going to play. Now, yes, you can't put too much stock on the summer league, I guess, but some guys, it kind of is a step stool for their career. So I will be paying attention to that. Summer league, I believe, is in a couple of weeks. So yeah, I'll be tuning in. So now go ahead, talk about off-season stuff. Some interesting things have been happening already. But the two that were kind of made into these big stories all season were the futures of Russell Westbrook and Kyrie Irving. Russell Westbrook, because his year with the Lakers was so poor that, you know, people were just looking at it as, well, you got to get rid of him, move him somewhere, blah, blah, blah. Now, we heard during the trade deadline, there was the whole Westbrook for John Wall deal that never happened. So some people thought with the offseason we would see it again. Well, looks like that's not going to happen because John Wall gets a buyout from the Rockets, and now he says he's going to sign with the Clippers. That's an interesting dynamic there because now you're looking at potentially Wall, Kawhi, PG, Paul George. Of course, Kawhi, we'll have to see where he looks like coming from the ACL injury. John Wall seems like it's been like 5 years since we've seen him on the court. Can he stay healthy? And if those two do stay healthy, Clippers could be legit contenders next year. And also the Clippers will get to kind of throw it in the face of the Lakers because the Lakers are stuck with Westbrook, at least for now, because Westbrook opted in to his, I mean, brace yourself, $47 million contract. All right. Now, year 2, maybe he fits in better. I don't see it because I didn't like the move from day one. Unless you're going to convince Westbrook to come off the bench, starting him and LeBron at the same time does nothing for Westbrook. So Lakers have to figure that out. We'll see how that goes. And Kyrie Irving. We were hearing for a couple of weeks now that Kyrie Irving has this big decision to make. Brooklyn isn't going to offer him a max contract, which they shouldn't. They'd be dumb to offer him one for a couple of reasons. One, you don't know how much he's going to play each season. Two, seems like his efficiency on the court is getting worse and worse each year. And those two things are a reason not to give a guy a max contract. So, you know, the questions were, you know, would the Nets do a sign and trade for him? with him? Would they get a new deal done for less than the max and Kyrie would agree to it? Well, neither of them happened because Kyrie decided to opt in to his deal with the Nets. So it looks like he'll be there at least to start the season. Now come trade deadline, who knows, maybe he gets moved then. And with that, the Nets become an interesting story once again, because now it looks like another year of Kyrie. We still don't know what Ben Simmons looks like, how he's going to come back, when he's going to come back, if he's going to come back. Now there's rumblings that KD may be upset and could be looking for a move. Not saying now, but maybe that's something where if the Nets struggle like they did last season, maybe come trade deadline, he puts in a request and they got to move him. So once again, the Nets are going to be, I guess, must-see TV to see if it's a complete train wreck, or are they going to come in next year and just dominate the East? Who knows? But it looks like they're probably going to lose some of the others on the team. Bruce Brown could be gone. Was it Nick Claxton could be gone. Joe Harris is supposed to come back from injury. See what he looks like. So for teams in the East, I mean, your Milwaukee's, I guess Miami's, Boston, maybe they're not too worried, a little bit worried, but I guess your Chicago's and Cleveland's and those teams may be worried that, Brooklyn puts it all together. Then they're going into next season, I guess, one less spot possibly in the top 6 available. What's another development? Oh, the Knicks. The Knicks with their love affair with Jalen Brunson. They made a deal today. They made a deal, I think, Tuesday afternoon, where they cleared out money because apparently they're ready to offer Brunson like $25 million a year. I don't really know what to make of Jalen Brunson yet, because I know that, for games in the postseason, he played really well. Then there was other games where he really struggled. And if he goes to the Knicks, he's going to be, I guess, more in the spotlight. And we don't know how he's going to play in that type of condition. So, not saying he shouldn't get the opportunity, of course, because you won't know until you actually put the player in that situation. But we've seen past years, the Knicks, where they, clear money to go after a certain player, and they haven't always gotten the best return in those decisions. And this is another one of those where, remember the summer of LeBron, Knicks cleared money. They weren't even a factor in that decision. And then they ended up with, I think it was like Amari Stoudemire as a consolation prize. So they do all this. Who's to say Jalen Brunson doesn't go somewhere else? But that's a chance you got to take in free agency. So once again, we'll see how that develops as the free agency period gets underway. And I think the last one I want to talk about is, there's 2 more. So one, people are starting to pay attention to James Harden, Bradley Beal. What are they going to do? So I think Harden has a player option to go back to Philly. I'm assuming he's going to follow suit with Kyrie and Westbrook and just go ahead and jump on that. So Philly will be another team. What do they look like next year? Full season of Embiid and Harden together. Do they continue their play from like the postseason where Harden was kind of invisible? and it turned into everything on Embiid, but Embiid got hurt, so that was a big factor as well. Or just Harden, get in better shape, get back to the guy who was an MVP candidate. And if that's the case, then Philly becomes in better standing in terms of the Eastern Conference hierarchy. So I'll have to see that. And then with Bradley Beal, it seems like this is a story each year for like the past 3 or 4 years. Is he going to look to leave Washington? Will he take the... I guess Washington can offer him a max, of course. So will he just go ahead and do that and stay there? Then, of course, if he stays there, he's obviously not going to be contending for anything anytime soon. And then he's kind of wasting away his best years in Washington. But maybe he's just looking for the payday, and cool, you can do that. I can't say that because some of the guys, I guess, when they take the payday, maybe it's because they've become so entrenched in the community and the fans and all that they don't want to leave. And you got to respect that. So I'm not going to say it's just all about the money in that situation, I guess. So and then the last thing is the DeJounte Murray sweepstakes. Now this one, very interesting because DeJounte Murray is a young player, been in the league I think 4 years now. Each year he's gotten better. Last year he was a over 20 point per game scorer. He was dishing out over 9 assists a game, and I think he was grabbing like 8 rebounds a game, all while shooting like 46% from the field. Most times young players like that don't become available unless it's they run their contract out or the trade deadline before their contract is up and the team that he's on understands he's not going to re-sign, something like that. So maybe this is premature with San Antonio because I think Murray is signed through 22-23 and then he becomes a free agent. So if the Spurs are kind of putting out feelers out there to see which teams are interested, and then the trade deadline, maybe they act on it, or maybe they do it now because San Antonio isn't contending, of course, and we don't know how long Popovich is going to coach. So let's say Popovich coaches a year. They could be completely blowing it up for the next person to go in there and kind of start with a clean slate. I don't know. I find it weird that Murray's available. And so far we've seen the Hawks are interested. There was even talks about them working towards a trade, which, if this is true, I don't get it. But Murray being available, I don't get either. So it is what it is at this point. But they're talking about Danilo Gallinari and 3 first-round picks for Murray. One, if I'm San Antonio, I get they probably just wanted an expiring contract, and I'm sure Gallinari is one at this point. But if I'm talking to the Hawks, the fact that John Collins seems like he's always available, why not take him in the 3 first-round picks? But then, I don't know. Of course, it's more about the picks. Like, San Antonio's made it known that they want 3 first-round picks for him, which is kind of like the Drew Holiday deal. So, with that, the Hawks are in there. They're talking about the Celtics apparently are involved in the sweepstakes, which if the Celtics were able to get him, that would solve, I guess, a pretty decent piece of the puzzle for them. Because like I said, Murray, very talented, good shooter, great playmaker. Brad Stevens wants playmakers, so yeah, free agency hasn't really gotten going, and we're starting to see a lot of names out there. And of course, for me, I love this because now we're going to see a lot of the team building aspects and which teams get it and which teams don't. So it's almost July at this point. NBA season is still like 3.5, 4 months away. So a lot can happen. But of course, if any big deals go down, I will obviously be here to talk about it. Trying to give you guys 4 episodes this week. Try to get nice standard level there. But yeah, let's see if the NBA can be like the NFL and just stay in the news. A lot of big names could get moved because I didn't even talk about Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert. Seems like Utah's probably going to move one of them. We know Damian Lillard put out that Twitter post putting Durant in a Blazers jersey, so something could happen with Portland. I think this offseason could shape up to be a really active one, and I'm here for it. So let me know what you think. Let me know what you'd want your team to do. As I said, for me, Celtics fan, I'm right there with Brad Stevens. He wants to bring in a playmaker. Love that. If they can get DeJounte Murray, I say go all in for that. Offer the 3 first-round picks. If they want a young guy, toss a young guy in there. I don't know. But if you get Murray, you can sit back, call your offseason done, and feel happy about it. But yeah, so let me know who your team is, what you'd want them to do. And also, quick note, something I'm going to start doing probably every week or every other week. I'm going to dedicate an episode to, kind of a fun sports topic where I'm going to do a top 5 list of whatever you could come up with. I'll probably start with one of my own first just to get it going. I've been thinking about doing like my top 5 sports movies or top 5 teams I love to root against or something like that just to kick it off. But if you follow me on Twitter at Chompin' Podcast, or if you like the Facebook page Chompin' at the Bit, however you want to, interact and give me your suggestions, please do that. I'll even shout you out if I pick your suggestion and have some fun with it. So I'm going to look to do that at least once a week. If not every week, every other week, pick one and just run with it. So stay tuned for that, and hopefully I can get some good suggestions from you. If not, I've got a couple I can run with, but I'd really like to open it up to something that you guys can help me with. So thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. If you did, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, share, follow me, like I said, on Twitter at Chompin' Podcast. Leave a review, comment, all that good stuff. It's all welcomed, and appreciate you guys. So as I always say at the end of every episode, be safe out there. God bless, and I will catch you on the next episode. All right, I'm out. Have a good one.